If you're looking for a unique wine experience, check out Burned Out Winery. Founded by a team of siblings who turned their passion for winemaking into a thriving business. They focus on crafting exceptional small batch wines from Moscato to tart cherry and spiced apple to their delightful sangrias. There's something for everyone. Each bottle tells a story, complete with a creative name that reflects their journey. Their wines are not only fantastic, but they're also affordable, making them a great choice for any occasion. You can easily order online at burnedoutwinery.com or connect with them on Facebook. They deliver. Whether you're local or out of state, they'll ship right to your front door. Support this hardworking team and savor the taste of Burned Out Winery. This is Big Sturge with American Whiskey. Discover the taste of freshness at Schoolhouse Farms. Join Vaughn Davis and Beth Cole, passionate bird watchers and friends from York County, Maine, as they transform their love for nature into a thriving business. Since 2016, they have been dedicated to growing and distributing premium sunflower kernels, oils, gourmet popcorn, and heirloom grain products like corn, flour, and grits. What do they offer? Birdseed suppliers, high-quality black oil sunflower seeds for local markets. Food retailers, a selection of sunflower oils, roasted kernels, gourmet popcorn, and heirloom cornmeal. Online shoppers enjoy gourmet popcorn and confection sunflower kernels from the comfort of your home. Floral markets, stunning sunflowers for Ohio-based florists. Distillers, specialty grains for brewing and distillation. Popcorn vendors, are you a kettle corn vendor? Talk to Vaughn or Beth about supplying your business with the lowest cost, high quality mushroom popcorn in the industry. Taste the difference. Customers can shop for delicious sunflower kernels, popcorn, flavored oils, and heirloom cornmeal and grits directly on their website or at selected retail stores and farmers markets across Ohio, Indiana, Maine, and New Hampshire. Their name pays tribute to the historic Freisinger School, built in 1862 on Davis Farms property. This one-room schoolhouse has a rich history, having served the community until 1939. Are you ready to connect? If there's an exciting opportunity to discuss, they would love to hear from you. Follow Schoolhouse Farms on Facebook today and become part of the community. This is Big Sturge with American Whiskey. They say monsters don't exist. But what if I told you they walk among us, in plain sight? Imagine the chill creeping down your spine when you're alone. The unsettling sensation of eyes boring into you from the shadows. Yet, when you turn, nobody is there. Picture yourself in a crowded grocery store, heart racing, as an inexplicable dread clings to you like a dark, dark cloud. Monsters are real. This is American Whiskey, and every Friday we get together for Sip and Solve, where we dive into the bone-chilling tales that remind us of darkness lurks just beneath the surface. Welcome back to American Whiskey, the podcast where we sip on our favorite drams while exploring the dark corners of true crime. I'm your host, Big Sturge, and with me tonight, as always, we've got Justice League, and we've also got the one and only Peanut. And today, we're diving into a very chilling case. It shook Covina, California on Christmas Eve of 2008. The Covina Massacre was absolutely insane. It's terrible. So grab your whiskey, settle in, check your doors and your windows, make sure they're locked. Let's sip and solve this tragic story together. Before we delve into this tragic event of that night, we need to understand the man at the center of this case. We've got Bruce Jeffrey Pardo, born in 1963. Life was marked by mental health struggles and turbulent relationships. Growing up, he displayed early signs of emotional instability. Friends and family even commented on his charm and his intelligence, so he's a smart guy. But these traits were often overshadowed by the increasingly erratic behavior. And after high school, he attended college, but he struggled there to maintain consistent relationships and employment. His early adulthood was characterized by a series of failed engagements. One notable relationship was with a woman named Mary, whose tumultuous relationship with him was highlighted. It was terrible. He had so many anger problems. And when they broke up, he had a very difficult time coping, leading to obsessive behaviors. And in 2007, he faced legal troubles, including an arrest for domestic violence against another girlfriend. This incident was a turning point for him, pushing him into a series of mental health problems. And it really was a mental health nightmare. He missed treatments, and despite his diagnosis, which were bipolar disorder and depression, he remained untreated for long periods of time, contributing to his growing isolation. By late 2008, he became fixated on the Ortega family, particularly his ex-wife, who had distanced herself from him for many reasons, and the rejection fueled his anger and obsession. You know, since the sense of desperation, I mean, it was the holiday season. We're talking Christmas Eve. It made it worse. His mental state was deteriorated, and he began to plan the horrific act of revenge against those he felt wronged him. So do you guys want to add anything in, before we move on to the next part here? We've studied this case. We've spent countless hours talking about this case together, and, we're outlining the mental health here. We're outlining the fact that the guy seems to be unstable. Do you guys have anything to add?
Yeah, like you said, with the mental health issues, it was very evident to his mother that he had a lot of commitment issues when it came to relationships. He had his first fiance. He left her at the altar, stole money, and went on vacation. His girlfriend after that he actually ended up having a boy with, Sturge, you and I kind of talked about this. It shows a very big mental health condition because his wife came home when the boy was about 1 year old, and the father was just holding the child that looked like he had just drowned and was blue in the face.
I believe he did drown, right?
He was motionless, and the father, Bruce, was just standing there. Wasn't trying to help, wasn't doing anything, was just standing there. And that's what broke them.
But that highlights that mental illness that,
But then after that, he hid that he had a girlfriend and a son. Just very big commitment and mental health issues.
Yeah, you kind of stole one of my points here too, the fact that he was hiding, he had a son from his wife, and then didn't want to get a joint bank account. It was, that and the hiding the son really what led into their divorce,
Mhm.
by my understanding and what
Yeah.
I'm getting from everything. Let's set scene for that fateful night. It was December 24th, 2008, and the Ortega family was gathering in their Covina home for their annual Christmas party, as they had every year. The atmosphere was joyful, filled with laughter, festive decorations, and the aroma of traditional holiday dishes. About 20 family members, including children, were still present, all eager to celebrate the holiday spirit. As the night wore on, the family engaged in typical holiday activities, singing carols, sharing stories, and enjoying a feast. Children ran around, playing games eagerly, awaiting Santa's arrival. Little they know, danger was lurking outside the door. Around 11 p.m., Bruce Pardo, dressed in a Santa suit, approached the house. Here's a chilling detail. When he knocked on the door, it was a little girl, his 8-year-old niece, who answered the door. She saw Santa standing there, and in a moment of innocence, she welcomed him. But this was no jolly old man. It was Bruce, armed and filled with rage. The joy of the holiday was about to be shattered.
You know, we were talking about it prior to going on here about that moment there in the driveway or at that front door. I believe you said, Phil or Dylan, that was something that was a cultural thing. It sounded like. Where
Yeah.
the kids always opened up the door to Santa Claus, and it sounded like you said something about the neighbors.
Yeah, Peanut hit on that a little more. It was their neighbor that was doing it. I didn't know that detail, but apparently he hadn't done it in about 2 years.
Mhm.
But even then, if you're 9 years old, at 7, you're going to remember answering the door to Santa Claus.
Yeah.
So if you just see Santa Claus walking up to the door, you're going to think, oh, it's back.
And there's some of the people that share this story that say, what was her name? Remember her name? The little girl's name? I know we wrote it down here, but the 8-year-old little girl was so excited that I believe that she went to run up to him, went to give him a hug. And, you know, that's obviously we're going to get to where, you know, that next part goes.
Right.
Yeah, the neighbor had done it for, years. Came over for the kids and that and joined the party. And he had fallen ill, I take it, or by what I understand, and he hadn't done it for 2 years. So, of course, in Bruce's mind, this is the perfect, way to get in the house, I believe.
Get even.
Exactly.
He knew the routine, and he knew exactly how people would act.
And he knew if he showed up in a Santa Claus outfit, someone was going to let him in, because traditionally the kids did go answer the door.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't they would just see Santa.
Claus, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to talk about the attack and the immediate aftermath of it. As we said, it was custom for kids to go answer the door for Santa Claus at these parties. But as Pardo entered the home, he immediately drew his weapon on his innocent 8-year-old niece and shot her in the face. He started firing upon everyone, and the chaos that erupted was unimaginable. Guests initially thought it was a prank or fireworks, but as the screams filled the air, panic set in. Pardo fired multiple rounds within seconds, targeting anyone in sight. Family members described the horrific moments as they tried to shield children and elderly relatives from a barrage of gunfire by diving under tables, out windows, and just anything they could do to get away. The sound of gunfire mixed with screams created a scene of utter chaos. In less than a minute, he shot 9 people, including family members and friends. Among the victims were Alicia Ortega, the 73-year-old matriarch, her son, George Ortega, and several grandchildren. The youngest victim killed was only 17 years old. Witnesses recounted the terror of that night, with some hiding in closets, others trying to escape through windows or hiding under tables. The brutality of the attack left the community in shock. After the shooting, Pardo fled the scene, leading law enforcement on a frantic search. Police arrived quickly, but were unable to apprehend him before he took his own life in his brother's home later that night. The tragic conclusion left many questions unanswered and deepened the community's sorrow.
You know, we talk about this segment of this is where we're talking about what actually happened in that house. And I can't help but wonder to myself the feelings that are going through the people's hearts and their minds as it's going on. You know, you read stories and news reports that when the little girl answered the door, he comes in, then he pulls the weapon, then he starts firing. He shoots the little girl right through the cheek, I think it was. Yep. She hits the ground. She's screaming, right? He moves on to the other parts of the family and friends. And you said it just now. They were ducking under tables. They were trying to flee out windows. They were trying to do whatever they could to get out of the line of fire, because clearly there was no stopping this guy. I believe there was 2 uncles there at the party that even tried to stop him. They lost their lives because of that.
Right. And one of the things I didn't hit on, just for the background of it, was he was carrying a present with him.
Mm-hmm.
The present was a large gift wrap package containing a rolling air compressor that sprayed racing fuel and was pretty much a homemade flamethrower.
Yep. And I know we even were talking earlier, he didn't realize that there was going to be, you know, gas fireplaces going and other things going on at that time. So when he was spraying the house, we know now that he wasn't prepared for that to happen. And it pretty much blew up in his face. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think he burned himself so bad that the Santa suit melted to his skin, Phil. I mean,
yeah. He had 3rd-degree burns to his arm and legs, which would be extremely painful. It's continuous burning. I mean, it's down into the meat at that point on 3rd-degree.
And you look at in the beginning of this, when we did the intro with that little slideshow, you saw the concoction that he made.
Right.
And it's like, oh, this dude's actually pretty fucking intelligent. Like he's actually, you know, everyone said he was a super smart guy and stuff, but, you know, at the end of the day, he wasn't that smart.
He was an engineer for a rocket type company.
Right.
I think he was a little smarter than what it looks like, because he bought plane tickets. It was pretty much,
he wasn't prepared to have 3rd-degree burn and suffer.
Well, the plane tickets, from what I was reading, was pretty much a decoy, because they're going to see plane tickets on his purchase history. They're going to go to the airport. When they dug farther into his car and stuff, they found maps of like Southern America and stuff. Mm-hmm. He was doing that to lead them north, and he was going to take off south and try to elude them.
I mean, he definitely was
he had it planned.
I mean, he did have a plan. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I just can't imagine, you know, in my head seeing come through a door, whipping out, you know, he had 2 guns, 1 in each hand.
I know.
Just firing away. People running everywhere, jumping out windows.
9 people in less than a minute?
Yep. And actually, by my understanding, one of the nephews actually said, "That is Bruce."
Yeah.
He recognized him.
Yeah.
And, I mean...
And I don't know, what, like, when he goes in there and he's doing this, is he saying anything, or did they just notice by his face that was him?
I believe the nephew noticed by his face. He didn't say anything, by my understanding, through the whole thing. He just started opening fire. I mean, even people ducking under tables, he went as far as ducking down and shooting them right underneath the table. And so, I mean, he was there to, you know, clean house.
Well, I mean, following this horrific event, the investigation revealed that critical details about Bruce's life, his mental state, the warning signs had all been overlooked. Law enforcement discovered that he had been planning this attack for weeks, expressing his intention to his friends, who either dismissed what he was saying or they believed he was just, you know, making a joke. And the investigation prompted discussions surrounding mental health awareness and the gun control, right? That's a big topic in the United States. We hear about it all the time, and rightfully so, I think. How can someone with the history of violence and mental health issues obtain firearms? Clearly, people can buy guns illegally, but these guns were bought legally.
Right.
Right? I mean, that's just how it was. And this tragedy led to an increased, scrutiny of gun sales and mental health resources in California, and the community was devastated. There was vigils were held in memory of the victims, and many sought counseling to cope with their grief. The local church even became a hub, as they normally do, for healing and the support. And as residents tried to grapple with the senseless act of violence, it was so hard. It was difficult. What did they do? What were they going to do? Right, guys? It's like, you really start thinking about this, and gun ownership and getting a hold of your hands on a gun is a right that you have. But sometimes if you're not capable of having those rights, because clearly this guy shouldn't have the rights to do it. So the question's valid, right? Maybe if he bought them illegally, we don't have this conversation, but we have to have it because the dude had obviously been to doctors, had obviously been in relationships where they were violent, or, who knows? You were just talking about his son drowned, and he just sit there with him as arm, like he's mentally not there. So the fact that he was able to walk in, how many times? You said it earlier. He bought, and I think you told me like 3 or 4 different occasions.
What, buy guns?
Yeah.
He bought 4 separate guns, and they were all a month apart from each other because of the law. You couldn't buy 2 within a month.
But he bought them legally, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. He had I believe it was 4 Sig Sauer boxes. They also, when they went into his home, they got 2 shotguns and multiple pieces of explosives.
Like pipe bombs, right? I think he had pipe bombs.
Just stuff to make bombs and massive stuff.
I mean, he really, let's just say he passed the check, but 4 different guns, 4 different purchases, 4 different months, right in a row, should give a red flag.
I mean, and not only that, I mean, let's hit on, this guy had a rental car to take to the house.
Yeah.
And, the getaway car parked outside of the wife's
which was his
house.
car, right?
His car was parked outside of the wife's lawyer's house. So
just let's just wrap this before we go into the next part of this. Let's just think this out real fast. Let's talk this out one more time. So he dresses up in a Santa Claus. So before that even happens, he buys ammo. He makes a plan. He buys 4 handguns with 4 different purchases, 4 straight months in a row.
Yeah.
He then buys a Santa suit, I think you said, from a local.
It was one of his buddies that made it seem like that, but it was fully custom because of his size.
Yeah, so it was a customized. He even had to put a deposit down on this Santa suit to even get it. It was so expensive. And then he goes to the Ortega house, rings the doorbell, knocks on the door, whatever one. 8-year-old answers it, blows a bullet right through her cheek. Luckily, she lives. Goes into the house, slays 9 people. The youngest victim that died that night was a 17-year-old. Has a homemade air compressor that he took and made into a flamethrower. Did you see the pictures in the beginning of this? Go back and watch it when we're done. He blew a whole fucking house up.
Yeah, there was nothing left.
There was a swimming pool. That was the only thing left.
And it happened so fast. I mean, it burnt down to the ground for fire department keeping.
So then, he melts this. There's so much heat in that house. He melts it. You said 3rd-degree burns.
Yeah.
Okay. So, it's just insane to me that this kind of thing happened. I mean, it's insane. So
yeah, I mean, there was so much heat. The only way they could identify the victim was through dental records.
Right.
And you hit on the ammo. We're not just talking a couple boxes. He had 200 rounds.
Yeah.
So I mean, he was planning for something big.
Yep.
He thought he was going to get out of there.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the long-term effects.
All right, long-term effects. In the wake of the tragedy, the Ortega family became advocates for mental health awareness and gun safety legislation. They wanted to ensure that other families would not have to endure the same pain that they had to experience. Their family highlighted the need for better mental health services and the importance of recognizing warning signs in individuals who may be struggling. Community programs were developed to address these issues, aiming to create a safer environment for families. A discussion about gun control intensified, many beginning to call for stricter laws around firearm purchases, especially for individuals with a history of mental illness. The Covina Massacre became a focal point in the national dialogue about the insertion of mental health and gun violence.
So, in my eyes, I don't think anyone can be upset by this. You know, a lot of people, the gun rights is just a big topic in the United States. I'm an avid gun owner myself. I know you guys are. I know we support the opportunity to own guns if you're able to,
Right.
Yeah.
if you're healthy enough to. But I believe what the Ortega family is doing here is right. I believe that them advocating and highlighting for better mental health services and the importance, as you said, of recognizing those warning signs are so fucking important. If that was a thing prior to this happening, prior to him going and getting these guns, 9 people could have been saved. A little girl wouldn't have got shot.
Right.
Possibly.
Exactly.
Because we don't know if he would have got guns illegally, but
Could've-
it's another hoop you got to go through
Yep.
to get a gun. And I don't know, what's your guys' thoughts?
I agree with you 100%. I know a lot of people are going to say that's just America being reactive, not proactive. But when it comes to taking rights away, it's hard not to just be reactive.
Yeah, I agree.
Exactly. I agree with what they're fighting for here. It's a legit reason. I'm just, glad it wasn't considered a AR style rifle, because that's what their go-to is.
Right.
But, the mental health thing is a big thing. I mean, if you have any kind of issues, I believe you shouldn't be able to have a gun.
And
I
I think you can even have some type of issues and responsibly own a gun. But clearly, we read, we heard, we studied, we saw he was unmedicated. He wasn't even treating his bipolar disorder and his depression. He wasn't even trying to, fix any of these things. This should have never fucking happened. He should have never legally obtained weapons. End of story. It was never even, I know Marsha put on there, she has PTSD, and I know we were going to hit on those later, but a lot of people can, go past it. I don't know if I'm against that. I mean, if you're helping yourself and you're leveling those things, let's be honest, we all have problems, but if you're not willing to get the help, you're not willing to, maybe a psych vow should be done before the purchase of a weapon. Maybe, a conversation with the doctor needs to happen before, part of the process is them reaching out to your physician. I don't know, but isn't there a way to prevent this shit from happening? We're seeing school shootings. Thank God, I don't think we've seen one for a little bit, but it seems like more times than less, we're seeing it more often and more often. And a lot of the times these guns are purchased from a store, and, there's got to be a call for help at some point. And, I don't know. So that's my thought. So as we wrap up this part of today's episode of this tragic story, I do want to take a moment to reflect on the lives that were lost that night, and the families, their lives were forever changed. There's no doubt about that. To this day, forever changed. The Covina Massacre, serves as a haunting reminder of the critical importance of mental health awareness and intervention. I can say that again. The haunting reminder of the critical importance of mental health awareness and intervention. It's easy for us to overlook the signs of someone's distress, right? But it's this tragedy here that we're talking about tonight that teaches us that we must be vigilant. Sorry, I'm over here trying to make words up. And we got to be compassionate. We must advocate for better resources for people and support for those struggling with these mental health issues, ensuring that no one feels isolated or alone, or, mental health isn't something that's like a theory. It's not a theory. We know that people go through life every day with stuff in their brain that possibly they need help with. And sometimes there's early signs of this. Clearly, there were signs from Bruce Pardo. Am I wrong?
For years.
Oh, yeah. Years and years of sign.
I don't know, 20, 30 years. They said that they saw issues when he was a kid. And we're having this conversation about him going into a fucking store, pardon my language, but going into a fucking store and buying guns illegally should never happened.
No, there's nothing else that needs to be said about that.
But I know you were taking notes earlier. I'm interested on some of the things that, you guys saw on this case that, and I'll tell you why I picked this episode first. I'll start there. And then I want to talk about some things that, that were highlighted and that stuck out to you guys. But the reason I picked this case, I know I don't know if this makes me crazy, but I was looking at like unsolved murders or unsolved missing people, but I wanted it to be around Christmas time. And this case pops up and I read it on Wikipedia and I was like, is this legit? So I look it up and I was like, holy shit, how have I never heard of this? I mean, especially as a guy that's been into true crime and had a podcast on true crime for so long, I'm like, this case is literally fresh in my brain, never heard of it. And so when I went through it, I was actually kind of disturbed a little bit. I was like, is this a fucking thing? Even Levi read it. Look at me. He was like, dude, this is crazy.
It is. It's very crazy. And for somebody to, go through life that long and not have someone like, hey, you ever talk to somebody or something? Because obviously he had anger issues and this and that. It could be something deeper.
Yeah.
It could be something from a past.
Yeah.
We always hear excuses of he had a rough childhood. Well, that's a lot of people's excuse, but could he have?
Yeah.
Could that have mental?
But the question is, I've shared my story with you guys before. I had a rough childhood until I was 10 years old. But, does that make it right? It doesn't.
No. I mean, and even, you all seen the difference between me on my meds and off my meds.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm honest. There's a night and day difference between me.
There is.
Right.
There is.
And, maybe if.
I still love you, though.
Oh, yeah. we love each other. We're a family.
That's right.
So if, maybe if he would have, family or somebody would have pursued that help that he needed,
Well,
maybe,
Peanut, I believe his mother was actually very involved with that.
Yeah.
She's the one that came out and talked about his problems and his commitment issues and was always trying to push him to go and seek help.
So he had that. He had
someone pushing for that stuff.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. If you don't want it, it's not going to take.
And you even heard, Dylan, I think you were listening to something, or you told me that the mother was so sick of his shit. Even when he was going through the divorce, she sat
on the other side.
Yeah, with the other family, with his ex's family.
She was helping pay for his son's medical bills because he had permanent brain damage
from the drowning.
She gave everything she could to that family.
And I do want to, you can't force somebody to get the help.
Nope.
They got to want it. But we got to do a better job for the people that don't want to get the help to prevent them from getting weapons.
Agreed.
I don't care what kind of weapon it is. I mean, I don't give a shit if it's a switchblade or a gun. Like there's got to be better way of handling this. So guys, I want to take one more second here to give you a little play. So I don't know if I want to call these sponsors because I don't feel that they are. I feel like it's more
family.
We're just advocating for you to go buy their products because we love them so much. So
can I hit another or a quick bombshell?
Yeah.
What I sent you earlier. So there's an alternate theory.
Oh yeah. We'll do that before we go.
Him actually killing himself. They said he had no exit wound from where he got shot in the head, or where they say he shot himself. But the police said there was a bullet hole in the ceiling above his head. So there's
the gun didn't match.
An alternate theory, because that bullet did not match any of his guns, that there was a second shooter. Maybe his brother came home and he got to a gun before he did?
You know, that's a theory. I believe, you know, the dude's got 3rd-degree burn. I mean,
Did his brother see what happened and blow his fucking head off?
We're talking extremely, extremely painful.
Yeah.
I'd had 2nd-degree burn, and the pain is unreal.
Yeah, I had it I burnt myself when I was working at a factory here in town. That was really bad.
Yeah.
Dude, you're right. It's
I still got scars all up and down my arm.
It's excruciating. I know we weren't going to hit on too many comments, but I do. Gordon Shinerman said mental health is in the past wasn't really thought of, but this wasn't like 1980s, 1990s. We're talking 2008. I mean, I was in high school at that time, and I remember, you know, they were starting. There was a push for mental health then,
but I have to agree with them. I mean, even today, mental health, especially, you know, with all of our soldiers coming back and this and that, their way of dealing with mental health is medicate. There's very few programs out there for people with mental health.
But what my point is, you know, I'm not saying that they don't need to do better. That's nothing what I'm saying. But what I am saying is when this crime happened, there was a push for mental health. Again, he had family members pushing for him to get help.
And he didn't want it.
He didn't want the help. So that's my point. I'm not saying that 2008, that it was a perfect system for mental health. It's still not. But the point is, much better than it was in the 80s, much better than it was in the 90s. You know, so I'm not saying that it was good, but I do know that he did have family members that were pushing him to get help. He was in mental hospitals. They pushed him into treatments that he refused to go to. They pushed him to be medicated on medicine that would help him. He refused to take. His mother literally left his life at one point because what can you do? What can you do at some point? What do you do?
Right.
You know, that's a question you have to answer yourself. And then there was one other question. How do you feel this could have been avoided? I think we already hit that. Mental health system. That's how it can be prevented. But again, if a criminal wants to get a gun, they're going to get the gun.
Legal or illegal.
It shouldn't be done legally, though.
Well, so I guess there's one more point I wanted to hit on that. He should have been a convicted criminal already.
Yes.
The reason why he got fired, he was falsifying documents at work for purchases. It was so much money, it should have been a felony. And they didn't pursue it. They just fired him, put him on the street, no unemployment benefits, and called it a day. That guy should have been flagged as a felon.
And what about the domestic violence?
Exactly. I mean, domestic violence right there should throw you right out of it.
That should be a red flag right then and there.
Obviously, there's an anger problem. Why should it be legal for someone with an anger problem to get a gun?
Right.
Because he lived in Cali and he made good money. And we know what happens in Cali when you make money.
And again, I'm not saying that the mental health system, I don't know if guess people aren't understanding, but I'm not saying it's good. It's fucking terrible. I said that in the very fucking beginning. This whole thing that I wrote up was all about how shitty the mental health system is. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that his family was advocating for him and he had options to help him fucking self. That was my point.
And you know, and that's the sad part. You know, I went years without it. You know, denial's a hell of a thing.
Of course it is.
And, you know, then one day it just kind of hit me. Like, man, I need to, you know, get a little bit of something here. You know, I noticed my temper's short and this and that.
Mm.
And, you know, I discussed it with my doctor and come to find out, you know, I suffer PTSD. Let's get some medicines. And like I said, you could tell the difference when you're on and off, but it really depends on the person. I mean, you got to be willing to do it and try it and go for it. If you're not 100% in it, then it's not going to work.
And I think too, you know, I do want to add that if anyone listening to this episode is struggling with what's going in through their mind or what's going through their heart and they're struggling, I got a tattoo on my hand right here. It's a semicolon that has to do with mental health. We're not professionals, but we got ears, and we can try to help you find somebody to talk to, but don't bottle it up and don't keep it inside. Talk to somebody, because, you are loved. People love you, just like Bruce had people that loved him.
Mm-hmm.
He took a path of vengeance. He took a path of hate and greed. He took a path that ruined people's lives. He took a path that no man should ever take, but decided to. And without love and without accepting that, it's going to be really, really tough. And, that's where we'll leave that at. And I think that if anyone is struggling, they need somebody to talk to, hit us up. We'll be there for you. We'll figure out how to get you some help. But we love you guys. And, we wanted to keep this not a 4-hour episode.
Yeah.
I know we could sit here and talk about this all night long, but we want to take one more moment here to give a shout out to our friends. I created some commercials for them just because we love them. If you're looking for a unique wine experience, check out Burned Out Winery. Founded by a team of siblings who turned their passion for winemaking into a thriving business. They focus on crafting exceptional small batch wines, from Moscato to tart cherry and spiced apple to their delightful sangrias. There's something for everyone. Each bottle tells a story, complete with a creative name that reflects their journey. Their wines are not only fantastic, but they're also affordable, making them a great choice for any occasion. You can easily order online at burnedoutwinery.com or connect with them on Facebook. They deliver. Whether you're local or out of state, they'll ship right to your front door. Support this hardworking team and savor the taste of Burned Out Winery. This is Big Sturge with American Whiskey. Discover the taste of freshness at Schoolhouse Farms. Join Vaughn Davis and Beth Cole, passionate bird watchers and friends from York County, Maine, as they transform their love for nature into a thriving business. Since 2016, they have been dedicated to growing and distributing premium sunflower kernels, oils, gourmet popcorn, and heirloom grain products like corn, flour, and grits. What do they offer? Birdseed suppliers, high-quality black oil sunflower seeds for local markets. Food retailers, a selection of sunflower oils, roasted kernels, gourmet popcorn, and heirloom cornmeal. Online shoppers enjoy gourmet popcorn and confection sunflower kernels from the comfort of your home. Floral markets, stunning sunflowers for Ohio-based florists. Distillers, specialty grains for brewing and distillation. Popcorn vendors, are you a kettle corn vendor? Talk to Vaughn or Beth about supplying your business with the lowest cost, high quality mushroom popcorn in the industry. Taste the difference. Customers can shop for delicious sunflower kernels, popcorn, flavored oils, and heirloom cornmeal and grits directly on their website or at selected retail stores and farmers markets across Ohio, Indiana, Maine, and New Hampshire. Their name pays tribute to the historic Freysinger School, built in 1862 on Davis Farms property. This one-room schoolhouse has a rich history, having served the community until 1939. Are you ready to connect? If there's an exciting opportunity to discuss, they would love to hear from you. Follow Schoolhouse Farms on Facebook today and become part of the community. This is Big Sturge with American Whiskey. All right, guys. So before we got off, there was one thing that I did add to the bottom, which looks like it's been hitting on the Fred's always trying to go ahead of our script here. I'm just kidding. But out of all seriousness, you can call this, text this, and you can also now do a chat online, and it can, I believe, be anonymous, but it is the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. If you guys do know anyone that needs the help, that, you know, I think you can call this number and try to get some advice. Even if you're struggling, you can call this number and they will find help for you. You don't have to do this by yourself. There's a lot of people out there that love you, people that care for you. So again, you can call, text, or online chat. They also have a website, but it is the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, and it is 988lifeline.org. So again, guys, as always, I'm Big Sturge.
I'm Justice Lee.
And I'm the Peanut.
And we are American Whiskey.